Welcome to Prayer and Bible Band. Lesson 11. I do not own the rights to this music. The topic is Father and Son's relationship. The background reading is coming out of Psalm 103, verse 13, Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13, Proverbs chapter 17, verse 6, Proverbs chapter 19, verse 26, Hebrews chapter 12, verses 6 through 10, Ephesians chapter 6, verses 2 through 4, and Colossians chapter 3, verse 21. The devotional reading is coming out of Luke chapter 15, verses 11 to 32. There is no central verse for today's lesson. The key terms are provoke, exasperating, and riotous. Provoke, to call forth a feeling, an action, etc., to stir up purposely. Exasperating, causing strong feelings of irritation or annoyance. Riotous, behaving in a violent and uncontrolled way, very exciting, fun, or full of energy. Psalm 103, verse 13. Like as a father pitieth his children, so the Lord pitieth them that fear him. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8. My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 6. Children's children are the crown of old men, and the glory of children are their fathers. Proverbs chapter 19, verse 26. He that wasteth his father and chaseth away his mother is a son that causeth shame and bringeth reproach. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 6 through 10. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards, and not sons. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh, which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? For they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 2 through 4. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Colossians chapter 3, verse 21. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Luke chapter 15, verses 11 through 32. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after the younger son gathered all together, and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his field to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, he said, How many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. And bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found. And they began to be merry. Now his elder son was in the field, and as he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants, and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe and sound. And he was angry, and would not go in. Therefore came his father out and entreated him. And he answering said to his father, Lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment, and yet thou never gavest me a kid, that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this thy son was come, which have devoured thy living with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad. For this thy brother was dead, and is alive again, and was lost, and is found. The introduction says, the first institution that was established on earth by God was the family. The biblical family consisted of a father and a mother, a man and a wife, and later children. It takes a man connected with a woman in a sexual, physical way to produce a child under normal circumstances. God is so concerned about the family that the first commandment with a promise attached to it was regarding family. He told the children to honor their father and mother if they want to live long upon the land. But he also gave some commands to the fathers and to the mothers as well. The discussion says, in this day it has become a great problem in the homes because many men help create children but do not stay around to help raise the children and provide a balanced home for them. We use a term called absentee fathers, which means that the woman has the responsibility on guiding the home because the father is not there with the family. God never intended for the woman to have to be the mother and father in the home because he gave specific job description for the father and the mother. When the home is situated right, the father has a place of headship. It does not mean that he is the boss. It means that he should be the leader in the home. In many families, it was a joy to have a son because a son is the one who carries the bloodline. Most balanced families where there is a father, he wants a son to carry on the name of that family because the seed comes from the father. In a correctly functioning family, the father is usually extremely happy to produce a son and will take time to develop a relationship with his son, which begins with love. It is important for the father to spend time with his son, giving him care and guidance to help him become more empathetic and learn to be able to guide his life. Children learn by seeing, so it's important for boys to watch their father and for them to learn the ways of a man. The father has a great impact on the son and how the son sees himself. It's easier for a son to learn confidence and self-esteem from a father. These qualities are so important in the lives of sons, for the time that we are living in provides much confusion for boys and girls. It has caused many boys to have identity crises. They don't know if they are a boy or a girl because they spend most of their life around women without the influence of a man in their lives. Fathers are no longer the primary breadwinner of the house. Both parents are in the marketplaces, working to make ends meet. So it becomes necessary for the father to plan his life and schedule to include his son or daughter so they can spend quality time together. It's important that sons see their fathers putting their families first, for this will give him a greater respect for his family. He will be able to see how important the family unit is. The son will look to the father as an example, for he needs to be his son's role model. It's all right for the son to see and admire others, but he really needs to see his own father as a hero. So that means the father must be an example in his actions toward God, his wife, his family, his job, and his community. He must let his son see the power of having integrity and honesty. His son is learning from him, for the father is one of the first and greatest teachers that a son can have, so he must teach him what is right. In God's instruction, he told fathers not to provoke their sons. God knows that fathers can come down hard on their sons. Many times he's busy with things outside of the home, and he doesn't have the patience that mothers generally have for their children. So they can be exasperating at times. Sometimes fathers can be a little bit sterner than mothers can, especially with the sons. But fathers, if you make good decisions in front of your sons, they will try to make good decisions. It may be a decision that seems to go against the norm, but if it's not a bad decision, support your son's values and decisions. The Bible tells of a man who had two sons. One was content to stay home, but one was dissatisfied with things in his father's house. Fathers must pray and ask God to show him his sons, for all sons are not the same, as God deals with the believers according to our several abilities. So must fathers deal with their sons according to their capacity. So one day he asked his father for his inheritance. Normally, the sons would get their inheritance after the death of the father, but for some reasons, he didn't want to wait. The father divided his property and gave the younger son his portion. In conclusion, after a few days, the son took what his father gave him and went far away from home where he spent his money and riotous living. He had no restraints. He just did whatever he wanted to do until he had spent all his money. He was far from home, where he had no family nor friends that he could turn to for help. There was a famine in the land, so it meant that things were really bad for a stranger. So he was in need, for his money supply was gone. Things were so bad that all he could find to do was to go to the hog pen to feed swine. It was so bad that he wanted to eat the swine's food. But he came to himself and decided to go back to his father's house. He remembered what a compassionate father he had. When he returned, his father was watching and waiting for him. He received him back with love and forgiveness. He had a welcome home party, which caused his older brother to be very angry. The fathers lovingly told the older son that all he had belonged to him. He could have a party any time, But his lost son had returned, and he was happy for his return. He was a good father who loved both his sons. God is our Heavenly Father who loves all his children. Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And that's Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. The questions for today's lesson. Question 1. What is so special about a son? Question 2. Why is it necessary for a father to spend time with his son? Question 3. What makes a good relationship with father and son? The essential thought. A good father will take time with his son when he is young, and a good son will take time with his father when he is old. The end. God bless you, and thank you for joining me today.